Hello, my lovely soul, and welcome to Unstoppable Confidence. I am your host, Lauren Glick. I am here to bring you my energy, my motivational speaking, and me being a confidence mentor. My mission is to inspire women to own who they are, step into their higher selves fearlessly, and live a life with unstoppable joy. On this show, we are going to cover everything from aligning your life to your higher self, setting boundaries, self-growth, and living a purpose-driven life. Let's get you living a meaningful life you cannot wait to wake up to. Stop driving and start living with ease and abundance. Cheers to living a magical life. And I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Now, let's head into today's episode. First and foremost, welcome listeners to Unstoppable Confidence. Today we have Rachel, and I absolutely love our connection. Shocking, we met on Clubhouse, another social audio platform. And today we're going to be talking about joy and purpose. And I was talking to Rachel before we got on live about how and I know, Rachel, I didn't really dive into it too much, but I absolutely love confidence coaching, and I will always be doing that on my podcast and on my Instagram. But I felt there was this huge disconnect of me growing a business and what my purpose is in life. Yes, I will 100% always empower women and men within entrepreneurship, especially online. But I have this huge background within health and wellness and my own personal story as well within growing that business. So I know we were talking a little briefly about my franchise ventures, and I'm super stoked about that. So I'm really excited to talk to you today about what joy means within people's lives, how we can connect that to our purpose within business and all of those good things. I know, as you know, I don't have set questions. So I love to have an open, organic conversation. So that was a little bit long of an introduction, Rachel, but I would absolutely love for you to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah. What actually drew me to you on Clubhouse, I don't know, maybe a year ago, was your confidence, but your health and wellness side. And I love what's happening in your life right now, because it kind of proves my point of what I work with women on, is to reclaim our identities over and over and over again, and kind of move away from this idea that there's one structured ladder that we all must climb, whether it's I chose to be a stay-at-home mom, and so that's who I have to be until all my children grow up. I chose to be a working mom. I chose not to have children. I chose this, I chose that, and we feel as though that's it then. We're done. We have to do that for the rest of our lives. And that doesn't actually exist. And we get lost in the being a failure or not feeling successful or not feeling fulfilled our whole lives, because we simply have not allowed ourselves to reclaim and transform over and over again.
Ooh,
and
I love that.
And I know this because I've done it, and I've burnt out a couple times, and I've looked at my 4 young children, and they are starting to have the same anxieties and discussions and worries about failure and success that I have. And I'm like, oh my God, wait, what? I don't want to pass this down. I need to pass something else down. So I think that there's so much power in the conversations that you have, not only as an entrepreneur about your business, but that we all have about our real lives and our real transformations that are happening in our lives.
I love that, because I completely agree with you, because you know my background as well, coming from city government and being in a fire department for 10 years and completely losing that identity and feeling like I was a failure. First of all, that's a very hard transition for anyone to have. Because firefighters are put on this huge pedestal of you can't do any wrong because you're a firefighter.
Really? Right.
Right? Like you're running into somebody
Yeah,
a stranger's home and they're trusting you not
yeah.
only with their belongings, but their family lives and their own
Their
lives.
lives. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I had that transition, I thought I was a complete failure. And that's
Mhm.
it's interesting now that I have been doing a lot of the work and understanding that it's not a ladder and it's not um consecutive growth. It's like on
Mhm.
a timeline that's, oh gosh, I don't want to say it's choppy, but it's very up and down and it's not parallel with each
It
other
is, and
either.
and and I think it's removing that societal, familial belief that it's
Yeah.
supposed to be one direction always.
Yeah.
And instead, like, what I've learned and I'm continuing to learn in my own life and as I work with other women is that how can we take those pieces of our lives
Mm.
and use them to propel us forward or to teach us something. I was a stay-at-home mom for 7 years before going back and building a very successful small business, burning out and realizing that this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing now.
Yeah.
Um, and I wouldn't take back any of those things. Similar, I know that you can speak to and have spoke to many times of your experience doing what you did for your city, your town, the people that you rescued and saved, and knowing that just because you're not doing it anymore in your life, like how that allowed you to do what you're doing now.
Oh yeah. And that's so interesting, right? Because you're using your past experiences, but it is that same inner belief of yourself knowing that, like, for me, I know for sure that if I wasn't a city firefighter, no way in hell would I have been able to do what I'm doing today.
Yeah,
Like, I would not have had the
yeah,
confidence to be like, "Oh, I'm buying 3
mhm,
locations of this random franchise. I've never hired somebody in my
mhm,
life, but I'll figure it out
and you
as the way
will,
I go."
and you will.
And that's the thing is, like, when you're able to really look on your past experiences and understand that no, A plus B does not equal C in this,
Mhm,
but it's like the grounding of who you are
yes,
and your knowledge of,
yes,
I've done so much of I guess it's the inner growth of understanding that I was able to go through these steps to
mhm,
be very successful in what I did, and
mhm,
I'm gonna just repeat that again, just in a completely opposite side. Like, nobody
yeah,
knows what the hell they're doing,
yeah,
and when you're able to just apply your previous experience to a new one, I think that's where a lot of
mhm.
success, comes from for sure.
It is, and it's for me, it's more than, like, looking back all the time and
Mhm.
figuring out where have I been, so I want to go and I don't want to go,
Ooh,
but
yeah.
what I do is and I work in small group circles of women typically, and I like it that way because it allows other women to kinda communicate with each other and be like, "Oh, wait, I was doing that, and, like, here's how it worked for me," or, like, "Here's what doesn't
Yeah.
work," or whatever, but it's really shutting out all of the external is the thing
Mm,
that works the best, and not always looking whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are in corporate and you love it, whether you are staying at home with your children and you love that too. It's shutting out the external world and social media in order to ground down into who you are and what you want right now in your life to have confidence to go forward. And now when you're in that
mm.
grounding state, like you said, and that brings you back to, okay, well, I know that I don't want to be doing something like this, or I know that project managing or what have you is not whatever it was not my path, then that's great. But that's only a piece of it. It really is looking at who you are right now and your
Mhm.
goals that you have right now and using that grounding force to catapult you forward.
Understood that, Rachel, and that's interesting when you were talking, you did mention, like, the ability to go inward, and I know that I said that a
Mhm.
couple times, but it brought up a thought in my mind of I always feel like even though I have this intuition, this gut instinct, like this is the answer, this direction you should go. But after I have that feeling, I always want to ask for advice from somebody else And I
Mhm.
did that after I, found this health and wellness company that I partnered with. And then asked for external advice. And of
Mhm.
course, people were like, oh my God, what if this happens? Oh my God, this. Oh my God, that.
Yeah.
And they hadn't been through those same steps that I had been through. So it was like they
Mhm.
had all these fears that they were projecting on me. Of course, they're going to have them because they don't know that I've been doing research for the past 4 or
Right.
5 months on business adventures. I mean, so it's
Yeah.
interesting. And I guess why I do that is because I want that validation, but I
Yes.
gave the validation
100%.
but it's like,
Yeah.
I guess you give your validation to yourself, so I don't know if you used to do that, still do that as well, and then you're
Yes.
like, "Why did I
It
just do that? That just
it
brought up a
is
lot of
yeah.
fear."
It is for sure in my nature to have a strong gut feeling, and I know it's there because I've practiced really hard listening to that, and so I know how to listen to my gut,
Yep.
but then I immediately turn around and ask all the people I know what they would do if they were in my position.
Yep.
And then when they say
It's
something
like
that I might that goes against my gut, I justify the hell out of whatever I decided.
Me too.
And I probably do it the most to my husband, which is probably annoying to him because he's like, "Why are you even asking my advice then?" Um,
Yeah.
but it really and at the end of the day, everyone else's opinion, especially those that are close to you, especially that maybe when if your decision impacts them, then yes, they get to hear about your life choices. They get to hear about the transformations that you're going through and the new goals that you have. But at the end of the day, nobody is going to know the answer except for you. And I know that sounds
Mm.
so cliche and so, up in the clouds, but I'm telling you, if you learn how to ground down into yourself and follow your gut, and it will be scary, and you won't know how to run all these franchises, and you won't know how
Yep.
to run all these business or do all these speaking gigs that you never even thought that you knew how to do, and then all of a sudden you just do it. You just do it over and over and over
Yep.
again. And if you are following your gut, then you cannot, like, your path will not go astray. You will be going exactly where you need to go. And it's been so liberating. And I can even see from your crazy morning and that smile on your face that, like, you know where you're going. And it's okay that you don't know
Yeah.
the end. You know today and you know
Yeah.
tomorrow. I'm like, that's good. All right.
Yeah.
That's
And
all
it's
we
so
have anyway.
interesting. Yeah, and that's the thing is like if you and that's where I think like having really solid mentors within the space that
Mhm.
you are
Yeah.
in has
Yeah.
really helped me grow my confidence in that no, I don't know what the hell I'm doing,
Mhm.
especially day to day. Like literally, like had no idea I was going to be doing all this that I was doing this today, but it feels
Yeah.
so good to like
Mhm.
be hiring all these people that I'm like, holy shit, no idea I don't even
Yep.
have a space yet, but they're like,
Yep.
just follow the
Mhm.
structure. Trust me, you
Yeah.
need to start hiring now. And I'm
And
like,
that's
got
been
it.
really hard for me. So I think that's a great point is the finding and trusting of mentors and people who have done the sort of
Yeah.
thing that you're doing before. Because you're right, you can go to your friends and
Mm.
your family and your best colleagues and give them all your ideas, but if you're transforming your life
Mm.
in a way that doesn't fit what they've done or what the societal norm is,
Yeah.
or then they're not gonna know how to answer that because they've never done it either,
No. And that's
which
the
is
thing is people live in a lot of fear usually. There's such a
yeah,
fear-based
yeah,
collective right now.
mhm,
And it's
mhm,
like if you're just going a little bit outside of the norm, of course somebody is going to project all
yeah,
their fears onto you, especially in a space that they're like, you're doing what? Like
yeah, and this affects me how? Yeah, this
I
affects our
know.
family or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say my best piece of advice for people who, because that was my thing too, is I was always really afraid of being seen. I was a
Mm.
corporate market executive. I was a, executive at a small business, but I was always representing somebody else, which was super easy.
Ah.
Like, I can
Yep.
represent their ideas really, really well, and then transitioning that to now, as an author and a speaker, and it's my name on everything,
Mm.
and it's my thoughts, and it's my branding, that's an entirely different mental shift, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was a really challenging thing for me to let go of the fear of being seen, um,
Mm.
because I think that, especially as women, we hold on to that notion of not failing and that notion of being perfect.
Yeah.
And when you are doing something that is a little more radical and a lot amazing,
A
people
lot amazing. I love it.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
People's reaction and your own reaction sometimes is like, "What if I don't make it? Like, what
Mhm.
if this is seen as a failure? What if this is
Yep.
not successful?" And I had to get over that, and I learned a lot of ways and techniques into doing that and getting over that fear, and now it's gone, I don't have any more. And
Yeah.
it doesn't creep in every once in a while, maybe, but actually really not. I know my goals, I know what I want, I know
Mm.
the women that I wanna impact, and I know that the connectedness that I wanna create in the community of mothers and women, so I'm not really worried anymore, like, it doesn't I'm not afraid.
And I think you made so many good points there, Rachel. Number one, of being seen, and that really does like kind of reverse back to, oh God, I lost my thought process, and it was such a good one. But like your ability to be seen, and then the failures. That's where it was.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was struggling with this as well of I don't I did that and it has everything to do with like being able to stand up and be like, this is what I want to do. Because
mhm,
when you're actually out there and you're doing your thing, like you're in the arena and you have all these people watching, and it puts this
yeah,
huge spotlight on
mhm,
you. And
mhm,
that gives you like it gives you like the whole scary feeling of like, holy shit, now I have to be successful. But it
mhm,
also, and you did make a good point of failures, because I truly do believe that no, I used to think I was perfect, right? Sitting in my comfort zone,
mm,
not doing
yeah,
anything crazy. And once I started stepping outside my comfort zone, I started to understand that your failures are the things that are going to get you to
yep,
success.
yep,
And those ones sitting in that comfort zone, no, you're not going to
mhm,
fail because
mhm,
you're not stepping out
not
into the
going anywhere.
arena.
Yep, right,
So I loved that
yes,
thought process you just went through,
yes,
because gosh, this is why I love coaching it, because it's like you could totally think you're perfect if you're sitting inside your comfort zone because you keep
right,
doing that same thing over and over again. But
yeah,
the failures get you to the success. And just
yeah,
because you go to a place, like you're gonna find success no matter what. You might hit a bumpy road, go
you will,
sideways, and
yep,
it's
you will.
your ability to get out of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think even the people who decide to sit in a comfort zone because of personality, circumstance, whatever, they're not ready, whatever it is, they're still gonna find failure too.
Yeah.
And they're still gonna find success in their comfort zone. They won't be fulfilled. They won't
Mm-mm.
live this crazy, glorious, adventurous life because they're too afraid
Yeah.
of I talk a lot about this in, my book that's coming out next year, but about letting go of the should. Women should do this.
Yeah.
Women should do that. Women should look like this. Women should act like that. Women should spend their Christmas holiday like this, right? And I got so sick of that, and I got burnt out as a
Mm.
mother especially, but as a businesswoman with the shoulds. And I was like, I'm not gonna do the shoulds anymore. It's all gonna go away. And
Yeah.
I don't live in them anymore. I have set up really good, healthy boundaries. I have communicated with my family what my boundaries are. And I make decisions with my husband for our family, what's the best for us and our kids, not the extended family or anything else. And I think that when you going back to the letting go of being seen or the
Mhm.
fear of being seen is that opens so many doors, not only from a business perspective, but in who you are
Yeah.
and where you're going and the adventures you take. And then those are all the paths that you're going on that you could never have even seen if you're sitting in your comfort zone, afraid.
Yeah.
I don't even know what honestly at this point, I'm not sure what people are afraid of anymore.
I don't either.
Like now's the time.
Yeah.
We all just went through this big huge thing. We're kind of still going through it all together. Now is the time. There's no other time like right now,
Yeah.
right?
I
And,
like how you were like, "Just this big, huge thing," and I was like, "Yeah, that
Mhm.
was pretty big, huge thing," you know? I was like, "Whatever." But it's interesting,
It's
it's, like,
too big,
still
yeah.
going the news is still talking about it, but
It
nobody
is.
really
Oh my god,
cares.
yes, yes, my kids are still talking about it, school's still talking about it, like, come on. It's
Like,
still a
we're
big
over it
thing.
now.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so, like, if now is not the time to
Yeah.
shake it up, like, there was never a time then. So,
Mhm.
there's 0 excuses anymore, people. I just don't have them.
Exactly. So there's 0 excuses, Rachel. There was really not. And that's the thing is like when you were just talking about um stepping out of your comfort zone and when you're drawing hard boundaries. And when I'm going to be relating this question to asking you about, is that how you started finding your joy in life is through boundary
Yeah,
setting?
yeah. It was boundaries and it was letting go of external perfection for me.
Mm,
Those were big ones for me. What the should, again, what I thought
yeah.
my life should look like, the ladder I was supposed to climb, what my family should look like,
Mm,
what I was doing for my work. And that and the boundaries was almost for me it felt like a reversal of boundaries. Because when you're letting go of a societal idea of perfection or my own idea of perfection that I made up, and that's fine too.
mm.
Um, you almost release the boundaries that you've put on yourself. So it
Yeah.
wasn't always boundaries with another person or a group of people or whatever it was for anyone. Um, it was letting go of like that tightness that I was holding myself into.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so it
I
was like
feel
I had
that.
myself yeah, right? I like had myself in like bonds, bandages,
It's
whatever they are,
true, but
really
it's
tightness.
not it is us, like, it is me and it is you that
Mhm.
feel like that they put these, like, this
Yeah,
boundary around yourself, but also we had to get that from somewhere, right? And it
100%.
and
Yes.
that goes back to your, like, what you were talking about before of societal norms, and that's we're
Yeah.
like when we're little, like, we, kind of just
Yeah.
conform to what people tell us.
I I was listening to I've been catching up on, the podcast Under the Influence by Joe Piazza,
Never heard of
and
it.
oh my gosh, she's
I'm gonna write
amazing.
that one down.
She's
That's
yeah,
usually
she's
one
also
question I ask my guest is what is one of your
oh!
favorite podcasts? So thank you, Rachel.
Yes, and so it's really interesting. I use it a lot for research,
Okay.
um, for my writing, but she was talking about in one of her podcasts where this all comes from. So it's interesting that this is where
Mm,
our conversation has led because
yeah.
it comes from like the dawn of the century, long, long ago, like World War One and the age of Vogue, and the beginnings of comparison amongst
Mm,
women, and how back in the day, you didn't really compare yourself to another class, so to speak, because you didn't
mhm.
cross. The only reason that poor people were at rich people's homes is because they worked there. And now with social media and things like that, it is really easy to see perfection and money and things like that
Oh,
that force us into what our lives should look like.
that's super interesting. And this is I don't think it's going way off guard because for some reason we went down this road for a
Yeah,
reason. And I
yeah.
was watching a YouTube last night when I was falling asleep, and it's more or less was talking about um designer brands like the very
Mm,
loud Louis Vuitton bags that everyone knows is Louis Vuitton.
yeah,
um and then we're talking about three types of like societal, oh gosh, like I don't want to call them norms, but types of buyers. And
mm,
one was that um they have a lot of money. They live in like affluent areas and
okay,
they buy designer and high-end luxury brands, but they aren't very flashy, but they
okay.
love the
Yeah,
luxury and that fits
yeah,
into their elite people.
yeah,
And then you have more or less of the middle class people that like to buy the really expensive luxury brands to fit
show it.
into
Right,
the
right,
elite. But
right.
then you also have the lower status people that buy the fake luxury brands
Mhm.
to try to like be in with the middle class.
Yeah,
So it's
so it's
so
so it's exactly the
interesting.
same thing. It's like
Yeah.
way back in the day, like, that's what started this all, is the class
Mhm.
systems
Yep.
and how you started looking at what success and
Mhm.
happiness and beauty looked like,
Mm.
and that has been carried down from generation to generation over and
And
over again.
and that has so much to do with your mission of joy and purpose because we
Yeah,
have social media in our face all the
mhm,
time that
yeah,
you're like, I need to be that. And if I'm
right.
not that, then I'm not happy, which
Yes,
goes to joy. And so
yes,
you're skewing what you're doing in life to get this quote unquote
right,
success for like financial
yeah,
reasons.
out
But
of
it's
there.
like it's all like
Yeah, because when we talk about confidence and joy
Mhm.
and power, none of that comes from the external world. None of it. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It comes from within us, and we have to build it inward and go outward. And I again, when we were just talking about, like, now is the time, everybody, like,
Yeah.
everybody, let's, get it together and, like, make some shifts,
Yeah.
is we have such power as a collective group of women, but men too, and I'm surrounded by men. I have an
Yeah.
amazing husband and 4 beautiful young boys. So I'm
Oh my god, do
raising a
you
lot of
really?
I sure do. So I never wanna leave amazing men out of the
Yep.
conversation because they are
Yeah.
extremely powerful
Yeah.
and beautiful humans. However, for my purposes, I speak to mostly women. But I think, like, as much as we wanna change the government and society and corporations and the history of why we are influenced by certain things or this social comparison theory, we have the power right now to
Mhm.
reverse that. No generation has really tried to reverse it in the same way that we have the capabilities to because of COVID and the, corporate migration away from corporate
Yeah.
and because of social media. We can change the way that we feel about ourselves as a collective community and therefore change the next generation of kids.
Mm. I completely agree with you, and that's interesting that you talk about, like, the major swing away from corporate America, because within partnering with a franchise, like, there's a huge influx of people that are in corporate America that are buying into franchises because they want
Mhm.
to
Yeah,
get
and it's
away
not
from
structured
that.
in the way that works for people anymore.
No, they're not.
And I think that I think that that gives corporations an opportunity to do
Mhm.
big things and to change. And I know that there are amazing corporations, a lot of them I'm in the Twin Cities and a lot of them are here, like Best Buy and Target, who have always valued co-working options and work from
Mhm.
home and things like that long before it was trendy or before COVID. But a lot of companies have a lot of work to do if they wanna keep valuable men and women and parents
Yeah,
around. And they
agreed.
can do it, but we have to do the work on ourselves first in order to force that change.
I completely agree, Rachel, and it's just, especially with everything that's going on with COVID, you're right, we do have an opportunity right now to shift the majority of the collective to be able to just live with more joy and more
Yeah.
purpose. I was also reading a book called Happy Money by Ken Honda.
Oh, yeah, heard of that.
Um, it's interesting because Ken Honda was on Clubhouse a lot,
Oh, funny, I
and
didn't know that.
yeah, and I was in one of his rooms and he was actually giving away his book for free, so I just finished
Awesome.
up reading the book and it was talking about oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought here, Rachel. Shocking. Um
It's like our
gosh,
day,
what
it's fine.
yeah. What were we just talking about so I could relate it back?
We were just talking about joy and purpose and corporate migration and
Well, when
more
that
people are franchising and
huh,
corporations that
that's
are doing good things to make
so
change.
interesting.
Mm,
Well, when I figure out that thought again, Rachel, I'll
totally
let you
fine.
know.
Was it a good book? Should I
It
get
was
it?
a really good book, and
Okay,
it was more about oh, here it is. It was about oh gosh, and I forget the country that they were referring to,
okay.
but within America in itself, I know that's our country, right? But like, there's another country that I don't know the name to. People are so focused on financials and like
Yes,
getting abundance from their bank account, right? But there was this
mhm,
smaller country that focuses in on just going inward for their abundance. And it hit me so strong. They found 'cause this one country, they focus on going inward for abundance and community for security. And those
Yeah.
2 words in
I gotta write this down. I
America,
wanna find that out.
yes,
It's
I
gotta be like
will.
Italy or
It
something like
started
that.
with a B.
Mm,
I'll d I
yeah,
it's like BH something. I
definitely
will
send it to me.
definitely, and I'll put it in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
But, um and it was more or less of the focus on what abundance means and what, security means. Because in America, both
Mhm.
of those relate right back to
Yeah.
financials.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is that I know both you and I are
Yeah,
very into the health and wellness piece, and when I
yeah.
work in these small circles of women, I focus on that. Like, I take 4 weeks, and
Interesting.
it's not just like, "Let's hurry up and build your business,"
Yeah.
or "Reach your dreams," or "Remember who you are and reclaim that identity," but
Mhm.
it's, like, actually breaking down all that first and, like, how are you treating yourself? How are you eating?
Yeah,
Like, how are you sleeping? How are you moving your body? How are you connecting to the people around you?
yeah.
And then once you ground down and break down all that stuff, then you can become a badass, and then you can hustle, and
Yes.
then you can build, and then you can conquer. But it reminds me of the Blue Zones. Have you ever read any of the Blue Zone
Mm-mm.
books?
No.
Oh my gosh, another great book. And so that
What
is
is
like
it called?
the Blue Zones.
Okay.
God, what is his name? I can't think of his name. It's perfect. Par for the course for you and I today.
I know. I mean, my listeners were definitely used to me being like, "I'll put that in the show notes." Long and short-term memory loss here.
Yeah,
It's very
right.
interesting me being a podcaster and that happening,
I
but
love it because
my
it's
listeners are used
real.
to it. Yeah, it's
I love it
real.
because it's real.
Yeah.
But anyways, and so the blue zones are like these different countries around the world and
Mhm.
one town in actually California that these people live until they're like 105 years old, 110 years old. Yes, like the entire
What
community.
is it, Ojai?
No, but close, which is also a beautiful place. Oh my God, I'm
It's so
obsessed with
beautiful.
Ojai.
There
Anyway,
is a place south of where I used to live in Santa Cruz, and it was like a coastal beach town, kind
you
of
said
like
in Santa Cruz?
Ojai.
I love Santa Cruz. It could be there. I'm not kidding you. I'll have to send you what the town is.
Okay.
But you
Yes.
should read the Blue Zones book anyways because
Okay.
it's incredible and it
Okay.
talks about what they eat and how they
Okay.
come together as a community every day and what their beliefs are and what they focus on. And
Mm.
I'm a firm believer that it's like an all-encompassing thing. I don't care if you are an executive at a corporate company. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're
Yeah.
not going to be able to do a good job.
Yeah.
If you're a
No,
stay-at-home mom, you are not gonna be able to do a good job if you don't take care of yourself. And so I'm
and this is
fascinated by the groups of people in this world that do that and focus on
mm,
each other and how their
and
life
that's
brings them so much more joy.
no, and I completely agree with you. Sorry for, like, cutting you off there, Rachel.
No, it's
Um,
okay.
but and that's it. I think a lot of people, or at least I hope, that they're still doing this because I know during COVID, there was a lot of inward reflection, and I knew a
Yeah.
lot of people that started to do this. So hopefully that's still going as we're, like, going out into the real world again.
Yeah, right? Yes.
'Cause I'm in LA, and LA definitely did have the restrictions until like, we only got our mask mandate taken off, what, like, 2 to 3 to 4, maybe 4 weeks ago?
Oh,
So it was
wow.
very recently where we
Yeah.
started to and I, started to go out into the public, and I took a part-time job working for a couple of the huge like the Forum, the Staples Center,
Okay.
the SoFi Center.
Oh,
I
yeah.
started that in December. I just do it once every other couple weeks. So,
Okay.
it's like I was like, "I need to get out into the flipping
Yeah.
community."
And good
So,
for you for doing
yeah.
that, for knowing yourself well enough to be like,
Uh,
"This is
I need
not
this.
working for me right now."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
it
that's not
feels
always
so
easy.
good. No, it's not, and it's interesting, like, that first day back going into, quote, unquote, like, work. I don't really consider it work because it's, like, fun, it's part-time, I gotta see
Yeah,
John Mayer this week, like, it's,
yeah,
like, a lot of crazy, like, this is not really
yeah,
work. But I
yeah,
do like, I'm a medical contractor for those, events, and,
mhm,
yeah, half the time I'm like, doesn't really feel like work, but I'm definitely there for work because when people need me, I am
and
there.
you're getting paid, and so I think that again, like, you've taken the time in your life to evaluate where you've been,
Yeah.
who you are,
Yep. And what I
how that's
need to
changed.
make me happy. Yeah.
Yes, what you need to be happy, and then
Yeah.
you go and you do it, and it doesn't matter
Yeah.
about circumstance. It doesn't matter
Yep.
about how much time that might need or how much money you might make, but that is what you need in your life to be happy.
And this is a full circle moment right now, Rachel, as well as you're talking about environments and corporate places. And my experience as a firefighter, as we were
Mhm.
talking about before with franchising, I'm going to be hiring a number of people. And I want to have, and this is one of my main priorities within hiring, is making sure that I hire the correct people. And I
Mhm.
understand like things happen, might not
Yeah,
hire the best at the beginning, but that space is going to be a safe and welcoming, um,
yeah,
place of business. I think that's number 1,
yeah.
the most
I can say this
important
for
thing.
this. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
because it's like I've been in a number of jobs where
Yeah.
it's just completely horrendous, and I don't think it really sometimes it does not even matter what you're doing as long as you have, like, a safe and
Mhm.
good working
Yeah, positive.
environment.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
and that I think part of and it's part of this corporate,
yeah.
flight situation that we have is that the organizations have been running with good intention, but
Mhm.
too fast.
Way too
And
fast.
for profits that they've been, I mean, we could go back to the different crashes that have gone on in the early
Yep.
2000s, um, but I think that they have a big job to do right now
Mm,
if they wanna keep some of their really good people.
100%.
Um, and just like if you're starting a business right now, more power to you. And you're gonna have an opportunity to change the way that organizations look in the future.
100%, and it's so interesting because then you, like, focus and, like, yes, we have this huge opportune time right now to change, like, the collective and how we work, individually, and it's interesting because 'cause I've been just hearing how the younger generation, what are they, Gen
Mm,
Z?
yeah, I don't even know.
I don't even know either, but there's it's insane to see on social media
Yeah.
how people are making such they're working for themselves on social
Mhm,
media, they're
mhm.
making themselves a brand,
Yep.
and it's like if corporate America doesn't see that
Yeah,
shift, like that's a
yeah,
huge
but that's
shift
pretty
right
powerful.
there.
Yeah, I agree, it is very powerful. It's gonna end with our age,
Yep.
you know? And I think that they'll have to. There's gonna be no other way. However, and I know you and I talk to probably not that generation. Perhaps I have
Yeah.
some, younger women and moms
Yeah.
that come through, my brand and my work, and I love them. But I feel like the education of from organizations needs to happen, like, when people are in college.
Yeah.
So, they need to be talking to college age kids. They need to be talking to recent grads. What are you guys looking for in companies? What are you guys looking for this? That could actually be something that you do too, as in, like, hires, like, what are you guys all
Yeah.
looking for in the next 10 years? Because I
Mm,
feel like whether or not there's gonna be a balance, right? Because there's still gonna be, like, and my husband, who is a chief sales officer for a tech company, would say
yeah.
to me, like, "Okay, but you have to produce sales and you have to keep the company
Yeah.
running and you can't live in the negative. You can't live in the red. We have shareholders." And I'm like, I understand all that. Like, I totally get the shareholder situation. And I don't want to pretend that we should all, remotely work from desert or from like Caribbean
Yeah.
islands with a cocktail in our hand.
Yeah.
And I do believe that there is major value in the face to face of physically being in offices together sometimes.
Oh,
But
I completely agree.
just like everything else, there is a middle that is
Yeah.
not being met.
No.
So,
I
yep.
completely agree with that, and that's like I feel like I'm a little bit of an introvert. I love doing my art. I
Mhm.
love being by myself, but I
Yeah.
also really love being around people. So I'm definitely one of those people that likes the in
Yes.
between. And if somebody like me needed to go out and work in a place like the Forum, like I can't even imagine how extroverts are
Right.
feeling.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. I know we as humans need other humans, so living all
Yeah.
digitally doesn't make much sense, but who knows with the craziness of the world going on. And I do like, and I'm totally doing a shift here right now, Rachel.
Yeah,
And I
shift
do
away.
know that you gave us your one of your favorite podcasts, one of your favorite books. I'm going to put you on the spot here, but
Oh
do you
god.
have? So if you don't know I didn't tell you this before. Do you have a favorite quote or a mantra that you like to reference to, or one of your favorites by any chance?
Yeah, I do. It's very easy and used a lot, but
Mm,
it has been very effective in my life, and it is the Nike quote that says, "Just do it."
that is
And it
amazing.
is what I say to myself when my alarm clock goes off at 5 AM and I don't wanna work out or write, whichever I
Yeah.
have to do that day. That's what I say to myself when I have to do something scary and it's, like, on my to-do list, and it sits there and it's the last thing and you're just not getting to it because you're nervous or because,
Yep.
like, what if they say no? Or, what if whatever, what if? And I just have to whisper to myself, like, "Just do it." And then if you just actually take the action, nothing is really as scary or as big of a deal as it is.
That
Yeah.
is a very simple quote, but it makes so much sense. I use the 5-second rule of when I don't want to do something, I literally count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I just do it.
That's pretty good. That's like teaching my kids how to, like, jump off the diving board, but I'm, like, yelling across the pool at them,
Just do it.
Yeah, I'm like,
Because it
5, 4,
gives you
3,
like,
2, 1.
instead of just doing, just do it. Because then I would just be like, okay, just do it, Lauren, just do it. But I'm like, okay, no,
Yeah,
you have to do it. Five,
yeah.
four, three,
Just
two,
at this
one,
same
go.
second. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
literally how I feel, like, when I either jump into freezing cold water
Yep.
or force my kids to jump off the diving board, like, that's what I do. It's very smart.
And I think like I didn't know I got it from, I think it was Mel Robbins. Um,
Yes, love her.
But I just have been doing it for years because I do have that anxiety, the hesitancy, but that's the
Yeah.
thing is I'm always moving through it. That's why I
Mhm,
love to coach on it
mhm.
because it's like, "No, Lauren, you actually get to do this. It's not something that you
Yep,
have to do.
yep.
So, let's just keep moving." Because one of my
Mhm.
favorite quotes is, "The only constant is change."
Ugh, that one I don't like because it's true and it scares me.
It's so true, and I'm like, "Okay, if you're not changing,
It
then what are you
is,
doing?"
right, it is, and
Yeah.
that's good too because I feel like in my life as a mother, there's some times that I'm like, "Just hurry this time up." Like,
Yeah.
the day needs to end, the time needs to end, my children need to
Mhm.
be quieter. But then it is like a constant opportunity for me to be like, "Oh my god, but I'll never get this like, what's happening right now is never gonna happen again."
Nope.
Good or
Yeah.
bad, like, it's all done after the next 10 minutes from now.
Yeah.
And this whole journey from going to perfection to finding more joy and teaching people how to find more joy in themselves has
Yeah.
been probably because of my kids and the fact that I'm a
Mm,
mother.
I
Just that,
love
like, I
that.
don't have a choice but to be a good influence on them. So, like, I need to live my best life because I'm the only woman that they have to look up to, and I want them to know what a woman is and to know what she
Mm.
is capable of. And I wanna show myself what I'm capable of, and just because I have a bunch of kids doesn't mean, like, I'm not gonna live my crazy wild dreams. I'm still gonna do that.
That gave me chills, Rachel, because that is what I live for, like 1000% of really empowering women and leading by example. Because,
Mhm.
I mean, you could talk to people like, I mean, you could just keep talking all you want, but
Yep.
nothing really shows how empowered women can be unless you're,
Yeah.
just show by example. And that's what I
Yeah.
absolutely love to do,
And
especially
whether
with
you have
women.
kids or not, you we all have such power to make a good
Yep.
impact on the people around us and the little humans and the bigger ones, you know? And I always like to make sure that that's something that's really important to me because
Yeah.
there are just as many women who are mothers. There are women who have chosen or choose not to or cannot
Mhm.
be a physical mother, and they have just as much importance in the
Yeah.
role of the next generation as we do.
100%, especially with social media and being able to lead by
Yep.
example.
Yep.
You don't have to have children to be able
Mhm.
to, like, have, and that's the thing is I don't have children, and I'm totally out of the societal
Mhm.
norm of, like, I'll probably have children when I'm older, but, like,
Yeah. Right. Love
so
it.
weird, but that's just me.
It's
But
not.
I absolutely love that you are here and you're leading by example, and we all are just energy, and we just get to put out those positive vibrations and attract
Yeah.
more positivity into
Yes.
the world for sure.
Yes. That's the goal.
And to kind of wrap this up, and I think that was a really good kind of wrapped up into a pretty little bow, but are there any
Yeah, I don't know
last
how we did that.
thoughts?
It's
I
so
know, I
weird.
don't either because I didn't
That's great.
expect to do that, but that's why I love to keep our podcast, Unstoppable Confidence, just open-ended conversations. Because if I had preset questions, it would have never been
I
like it was
agree.
today.
That's
And
so true. I love that
I
you
know,
do
right?
that.
It's like because
That's good.
people are like, well, how do you like go along with all the questions? I'm like, I just
I don't
listen.
know. Yeah, we just chat.
You just listen
Mhm.
to people talk and then you
Yeah,
go.
that's the point. You
Um,
get good ideas.
right? And with that, how can people find you? What
Mhm.
is like your major social media platforms and how do
Yep.
people work with you, Rachel?
Yeah. So I am mostly on IG. I'm migrating over to TikTok for fun, but
Ooh,
haven't quite figured that space out yet. So I'm just kind of,
yeah.
playing around. But I'm on TikTok. We can put my handle in the show notes, maybe.
Will do. Yeah.
And it's just Rachel_Amarante, my name. And then my website is the awakeningmotherhoodproject.com.
Mm,
And I am running in the next month a ground to hustle circle. That's a 4-week sort of all the things that we talked about today. And I will do that frequently throughout the year. And that's the best way to get a hold of me. I love talking one-on-one with people. So I would say IG for sure. And then my website.
I love it, Rachel. I was just writing a note so I could send you something.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
So I just wanted to first and foremost say thank you. I had a phenomenal
Oh,
time talking to
mhm,
you today,
mhm.
and there were so many light bulb moments. So we should probably do this again in the
We
future
should
because I think
definitely do it.
conversations
Mhm.
like this are definitely needed. So
Yeah.
thank you again for
Yeah.
sharing all of your wisdom within purpose and joy. That's interesting because before I was a confidence coach, those were my two like mission statements on my Instagram as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was
Very
definitely a
cool.
huge alignment. So, thank you again
Yep.
for
Yeah.
today and for everyone listening out there as well. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. I hope you are so excited about where you're going because I know I'm excited for you. Thank you so much for listening in today. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you shared it with a girlfriend or posted it on social media. Tag me so I could personally say thank you. I am so grateful. And until next time,